loud. She's doing it all. Hello, hello. I love watching people come into the Zoom room. It's a really, it's just, feels like my life feels like an event every time.
Yeah.
And also, admit all, if you just feel powerful, you're like, here we go. I'm lacking, y'all, in interactions. What's up? What's up? I hope you're doing good. Look at your headshots. You all are so beautiful. Admitting, hey Tracy, what's up, Mara? How you doing? Oh my gosh, Howard with the good lighting. Yeah. Yes, you look good. Welcome. Oh my gosh, Dina. Yes. Hi, Dina. Dina, I need to email you because I want to do like a thing. Well, we'll talk about that later. Whole conversation. Hi, everyone. Everyone, before we start, I want to show you my mug that my friend got me. It says, I'm sorry, you're old. Because I had a birthday this week. So now I have a mug to say so. I have figured out a thing where I have an almighty power to keep everyone muted. So it took me way too long to understand how to do that. Forgive me. I'm a front of house kind of gal, But this is going to make our lives a little smoother. Okay, so we're a minute in. We got some good looking people in the house today. What's up?
Good looking, good sounding. We haven't heard them, but hopefully they are all good sounding.
Right. We hope in VO, all that really matters is how you sound. It's the inside.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure everyone has heard the expression "you have a face for radio."
Thanks, David. But we at Edge, we can do it all. We have a face and a voice for film. What do I want to say? I don't know. I'm tired. Everybody, welcome. Oh, thanks everyone. Thanks for my birthday messages. My mom has always said that like if people send you late birthday greetings, it's just an extended celebration. And so we like to live that life. Thank you. Great to see y'all. Welcome from Greece. You can drop in the chat where you're from. We're so happy to be here for yet another time together. My name is Siobhan. I'm your friendly MC for the day, for the next hour. The way this is gonna go is that we just drop whatever questions you could possibly have about anything at all, or thoughts or feelings about VO that you want to sort of riff with the group as well as with myself and David. You just drop them in the chat and I will get to them and make sure David gets them. If I don't get to you, it's not that I don't love you. It's just that an hour is an hour and it is what it is. If you drop multiple questions, I might skip around to make sure that I get to different people. And also I encourage everyone to participate in the chat with, their thoughts and feelings about all of the things. Oh, Carla, that's so kind. Thank you. That's really, really sweet and makes me feel great. I love seeing y'all. So this is a pleasure and a privilege for me. I really miss the social interactions at Edge. So I appreciate you all. David, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Everything is good. Yeah, every time you talk about not being at Edge, not seeing everyone at Edge, it makes me remember those days, being in the studio. It is still weird to not be in the studio, must say. You guys, everyone on the call, you all have home studios. I don't. I'm probably the only one here without a home studio.
I asked David once, I was like, why don't you have a home studio? And he's like, because I have 5 studios.
I have 5 studios in New York City. I don't need a home one.
That I built, Siobhan. I was like, right, that's right. I see. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everyone. Sunny Miami, I am jelly. Can we quarantine with you, Gisela? Is that cool? Can we all go there? Although, wait, Miami, how are you doing down there? Okay. Yes, Tigeress. We're gonna figure out home studio stuff. So let's jump right into it. I have missed you. It's great to see you. Adrienne, you look awesome. I love your pink stuff. Yeah, I'm vibing with your look and your kind of salmon walls. That looks really cool. Oh my gosh.
I was noticing, I think it was Michael or Mike or someone had a curtain in their background, maybe an acoustical curtain that had skulls on it, which looked pretty cool. That's one picture that came. I don't see where that person is right now.
That does sound really good. Also Barry always has so much good natural light. I'm like, Barry's got a good setup as well. But Yeah, but Howard's lighting is also my personal preference of lighting, like purples and pinks and stuff. It looks really good in there. So
Yeah,
I'm
look
gonna
at Randy's map in the background. Hello, Randy.
Oh, Randy's always got something good too. You guys are
Yeah,
great. Thanks for entertaining us. We we love to see it, and we love.
maybe I'll
Oh,
put
Tony
myself in
is.
my background.
Oh, I like to put David in my background sometimes
Yeah,
too.
I'm going to do that. Here, I'm putting myself in my own background. Let's see. We have to hit.
We've been doing this for so many
So
weeks.
here, look, there's two of me now.
We are very mature here, guys. We're very sophisticated, and all of that, all of that jazz. I love you all in the chat. You're so sweet and good.
Oh,
And
wait. Siobhan, if I
yeah,
move off camera
yeah,
and I leave my picture there and I talk, it's like I'm
yeah.
a ventriloquist, right?
David, it's exactly like that. That's exactly what it is. I don't think that's how a ventriloquist. Your mouth would be moving. Your picture, like a puppet.
Uh, I better stick to voiceover, whatever it is. It is. Yeah.
Right. You may not have a, what do they call that? A face for puppetry or ventriloquism. Oh boy, guys, we're full of jokes. We got jokes. I hope you think I'm funny because I'm going to be talking this whole time. So, Romy, I got you. I see you in the chat. Oh, great to see you again, my sweet friend with the beautiful accent. We love to see it. What is the difference, David, between narration for documentary and narration for nonfiction audiobook? I like this question.
Yeah, I like this question too. So first, let it be known that there are about 27 genres in the industry, and there are a lot of gray areas. Documentaries sometimes come more across like e-learning, and sometimes documentaries sound more like nonfiction audiobooks. So sometimes it really is hard to classify one genre to the next. That said, the biggest difference when narrating audiobooks is that you need stamina, you need focus, like intense concentration, you need character development, you need consistency. And these are things which generally are needed, but not nearly as much when recording a documentary, right? Because you think about it, a typical documentary is an hour long, and that means that the actual show is about 44 to 46 minutes long. And then of that, maybe the narrator has 20 minutes worth of narration, 18 to 20 minutes. So that's not that much compared to the average audiobook, which is 11 and a half hours long or 10 and a half hours long. Granted, nonfiction audiobooks are generally quite shorter, but still, you're talking about massive volume. So again, the consistency, the stamina, the focus, concentration, the character development, all of that is more necessary in audiobook narration.
David, would you say that folks have to sort of be training differently for documentary or audiobook narration?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that if you train for audiobook narration, it's much easier to go to documentary, whereas the reverse is not necessarily the case because there are a lot of wonderful voice actors who cannot get through an audiobook. You also, in addition to the qualities I mentioned twice already, you also can't be much of a fidgeter because you need to really stand patiently still when narrating an audiobook. I once worked with a voice actor who was absolutely phenomenal, and she was determined to narrate audiobooks, but she was hyper off the charts, and she could not sit still. Getting her to record a commercial was a challenge because she couldn't sit still for those 30 seconds or 5 minutes worth of commercial recording. And I was clear with her. I said, look, I just don't think this is necessarily audiobooks is not necessarily the right genre for you because I don't know how you could ever do it. Um, I worked with another narrator once, an audiobook narrator, who had a tendency to sort of, when he sat in a stool when narrating, he had a tendency to bob his foot up and down and it made noise. And he was great. And he was very, very experienced, very professional. And every time he recorded, he had to take a shoe off, wear a thickly padded sock, and he actually carried around with him a little carpet square so he could actually bang his foot up and down on a carpet square. Thus, it made very little noise. It was a low end thump, and the thump rather was low end in frequency that we were able to EQ it out. But yeah, these things usually aren't as much of a case when narrating something that's shorter, especially like a commercial.
Romy,
I hope that
do
helps.
you feel good? Yeah, do you have more questions, or do you feel, yeah, I'm gonna unmute Romy. We love to hear Romy's voice.
Hi, thank you very much. That was great. I really appreciate everything that you've said so far. But just to clarify, for example, if you have a script on, say, the pyramids in Egypt, and you're going to, read it as a documentary, and then secondly, read it as an audiobook, can you give it some more differences between how you might do the different reads as a voiceover artist in terms of
Yeah,
prosody?
absolutely. So I went in the direction of talking about the qualities you need as a voice actor. You're talking about the performance differences,
Yes,
and sure, let me talk about that. There
thank
are
you.
huge differences. Yeah. So in a documentary, the voice actor is just one of many production elements, right? There is music, there are sound effects, there are visuals, and there are graphics, sometimes computer generated. And in an audiobook, it's just you, right? So you have to carry all of the weight. So um, an interesting homework assignment to do would be to really study voice actors who narrate documentaries and pay very close attention to the lack of variety and the lack of drama, the lack of melodrama in their deliveries and their vocal delivery. Generally, the voice is pretty straightforward, pretty factual, pretty plain. They're not huge ups and downs, and not lots of variety. Um, and very often there are long gaps between sentences, but the viewer never notices those things because the viewer's brain is occupied by the other production elements that I mentioned: music, sound effects, graphics, visuals. That stuff totals the vast majority of the energy that's necessary. So the voice actor is usually just there to tell the listener what they're watching. Whereas in an audiobook, like I said, you're carrying all of that weight. So you need more variety generally. You need to carry the story. You need to communicate with your voice what the visuals may look like. You have to speak the words in such a way that you help the listener absorb your words and make sense of what it is that you're saying, so they can conjure up a mental image of what you're discussing. So yeah, it's much more challenging in recording an audiobook for many reasons. That's a really good question.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's great.
Thanks, Romy. Yeah, I put in the chat that even myself as a voice actor, I'm very scared of audiobooks.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, Johnny, I think I'll wait to learn how to do those. From Margaret, okay, cool. We kind of cover these basically every session or dive into this question, but how do you get started in VO? I have a commercial reel, but I'm really wanting to make an animation reel, so I have that to put out, but I'm not sure how to go about recording at home. Thanks for doing this. You're welcome, Margaret. Welcome. Happy to have you. David, how do you want to?
Yeah. Back to that previous question, there's one other big difference, and that is the difference between reading documentary and audiobook, and that is just the quality of your studio. I mean, ideally, every studio sounds freaking awesome. But when you narrate a documentary, if there's a little bit of noise in your background or a little resonance, or something of the sort, some mouth clicks, usually that's covered up by the sound effects and music and stuff. But again, in an audiobook, there's no music generally, and there's no sound effects. So you really need absolute pristine audio or better editing skills. Okay, to the next question, how do you get started? So, Siobhan, I don't remember the person who asked the question, their name, but I'm wondering if you are asking about getting started in animation specifically or in general in voiceover. I think you mean animation, yeah?
Feel free to drop in the chat, Margaret. Since I
Because, yeah, Margaret, you asked.
Margaret's got her camera on. We're a little bit smaller today, so I feel like I can do this. Hey, Margaret.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I'm also a nanny, so I apologize if you hear noises in the background. But I have a commercial reel that I worked on when I was at Penn State, and because I graduated from their acting program, but working on my own, I really, really want to do animation. That's something that I'm really passionate about, like things like Disney movies or Pixar or something like that. And I'm not sure how to go about making a reel. I have a friend that's like an audio engineer, and I have the setup to have really good audio, but I'm not sure how to even go about choosing your voices or
Yeah.
scripting or things like that. And that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Sure. So just quickly to your commercial demo, since you recorded it at a school, I would strongly encourage you to have me review it, or have someone who you trust review it, because um, the vast majority of times, demos that come from acting programs in schools are not really as marketable as they could be, or as they should be. So that's one very strong recommendation before you start marketing that thing. In terms of the animation demo, it's theoretically no different than recording a commercial demo. I mean, you look for spots that, or scripts, I should say, that match your voice, match match the cadence and tempo and your type of the emotions that you have in your voice. I mean, you find scripts that you can read well, and you look for as much variety as you can do well. If that's little variety, that's fine. If you can do a lot of variety, then put more variety on your demo. I would say with animation demos, a lot of the ones that are marketed to our studios are full of unusable voices. So the voice actor uses voices which might be interesting and all, but it's just not a voice that casting teams will ever hire. Our clients aren't going to ever request such a voice. Agents who we work with won't ever request such a voice. And so filling up your demo with voices which aren't usable, which aren't marketable, is just a waste of space. It's like advertising a pizza with, I don't know, some food that no one would ever want on pizza. Like, why would you advertise it if no one would ever want to order it? Another thing about animation demos is very often the voice actor tries so hard to have so much variety that most of the pieces are unusable and actually are turnoffs. So as I sort of briefly alluded to already, just do things which really work with your voice and which are really marketable. That's key. Third thing, I would focus on using your own voices and not doing imitations of celebrities and other cartoon characters, because those voices have been done. And in the animation world, you are hired as an animator or as an animation voice actor to create new voices, to animate things which don't talk in real life. So if you're just doing impersonations of celebrities and things, then it's not an animation demo. You can do, you can put some accents on it if you want, but usually those are saved for character demos. I ultimately would, again, strongly encourage you to have someone, like me or someone else who you trust, just to kind of help you figure out which voices would be most marketable for you. Just to go through it and suss out what should go on your demo and what shouldn't, and then help you find material for it.
I muted
Siobhan, you're muted.
I know. I was like, yes. Thank you, Margaret. It's also awesome. I was telling people, Zoom now lets you move squares around. So she was on my second screen and I just bumped her over, and it was really exciting for me. So yeah, thank you for being here. I was a nanny also for several years. So I get that. I get that vibe. Yeah, it's kind of nice having a little bit smaller group. We can kind of spend some more time. From my personal Zoom queen, Dina, is asking about, David, what do you think about the various formats of voiceover workouts out there? Like voice actors directing each other, one director providing all the feedback, submitting to a group via email, getting written feedback. What are your feels about the best way to kind of keep your practice?
I think there are, thinking about this quickly, 3 different things I would do on a regular basis to keep your chops up. One is to practice on your own. However, there's a huge qualification to that. You should never, ever practice on your own until you know exactly what to listen for. Because if you don't know what to listen for, then you're practicing incorrectly and you're just reinforcing bad habits. Second thing is to have a coaching session with a coach. Dina asked the question, and I do work with her quite regularly. Find a coach who understands you, gets your style, is current in the industry, who knows who's hiring and where the hiring is happening and all that kind of stuff. And and a coach who understands the genre in which you're working in, whether it's animation or audiobook or commercial or whatever. So have a session on a regular basis. Maybe it's just even once a month, but just to stay on top of things. And the third thing to stay in practice is to use our feedback form. How many of you have used our feedback form before? Anyone? Like 5 hands, 4 hands? So the feedback form is a free thing on our website. It's a peer-to-peer, a voice actor peer-to-peer review site. It's all free. So you upload recordings and other voice actors provide comments on those recordings. And one thing to keep in mind is that some of the voice actors who will provide feedback to you aren't professional. They're new to the industry. So take what they say with a grain of salt, but goodness, if like 3 or 4 different people, even newcomers, all have the same comment for you, if they all say like, dude, great voice, but man, like you're too fast or you're too slow or you skip this word or something, if you find these common denominators, then I would start to take it very seriously and then work with your coach on them. And an interesting thing about the feedback form, and the best, I think by far the greatest benefit of the feedback form is not the best benefit is providing feedback to other voice actors, because when you are forced to provide feedback to other voice actors, at first it's really challenging and it makes you start thinking like a casting team. And the more feedback you provide to other voice actors, the better you think, the better you can ultimately self-direct. And that is what this industry is about, right? You have to self-direct your own auditions. So the feedback form gets you doing just that. It gets you thinking about things from someone else's perspective. It gets you hearing differently. And I will tell you, every voice actor who I've ever worked with who uses the feedback form will jump up and say, absolutely, as great as it is uploading my recordings and getting feedback on them, it's been better for my industry long-term, better for my career long-term that I provide feedback, because I hear it like casting teams do. I know what to listen for and I can do a better job with my own auditions at home. So yeah, use the feedback form.
Dina, do you have particular question, or do you feel like that was a good response, or do you have particular questions, or maybe?
How interesting. It asked me if I wanted to unmute. I do. Um, no, I think I think your resource is great. I mean, I've used that service and it's really a lot of fun and I've gotten some great feedback, and it did force me to really coalesce my thoughts into some nice kernel when I wrote comments. I think there's a certain lovely social part of like being on a Zoom call with other voice actors and going through copy. So I think workouts in some way for that element are really valuable. But I really do love your forum. So yeah, I'm good
Yeah,
with
the
your answer.
workouts. No, you're right. And that would be a fourth way to go about staying on top of everything is a workout group. They're great. They're terrific. As long as you know who you're working out with and know that they have their ears are, in tune with the industry, or if you're working with different voice actors each call, that's helpful. But if you're working with the same group of, let's say, 3 or 4 voice actors every week or every month, whenever you have a scheduled call, and everyone is at a lower level in terms of their career, they're still all new, and no one has trained ears, then perhaps no one is helping anyone. And at the other end of the spectrum, if everyone that you're working with is good and has been around and has worked professionally, then you're in terrific hands, terrific ears, right? So you have to make sure you know who you're working with. There's a bit of chance there, but if you do your research, you can work with someone really good or work with a group of people on a regular basis. That's great.
Yeah, part of that freelance life is like accountability, and like with accountability with multiple people, I find is more helpful to me than one person, because it's really easy to be like, hey dude, I can't meet this week, and dude's like, no problem, and then you're off the hook.
Mhm.
So I find multiple people to be really good, because it's more embarrassing to let 4 people down than to like just kind of skate by from the one person. That's me learning about myself though, so people might be stronger than I am. Adrienne, I feel like because of the E, I want to say like Adrienne, but I don't know. And if I'm messing it up, I apologize. I just enjoy saying your name that way. Is asking, what tips do you have when recording an audition scene with 2 or more characters putting one, your character's lines, how much dead space? Okay, so I think Adrienne is asking about a dialogue where, I get this, where someone's speaking, it's like you're doing an audition for dialogue, and I've actually turned in some auditions like this, and you're only reading your lines and not theirs. So yeah, so David, can you talk a little bit about how those auditions should sound in your recordings when you submit?
Yeah, so if you're not playing the multiple characters who are dialoguing, if you're just playing one character, put as little space as you can between them, because dead space just wastes the casting team's ears. Or sorry, just waste their time is what I meant to say. A quarter second, a half second. I mean, some of it's going to have to be by feel, because if your character speaks slowly, perhaps you want a slightly longer space between the actual lines. But never leave enough space. First of all, never leave enough space that the casting team thinks the audition is done and they hit stop. And it doesn't take the casting team long to hit stop on their screen, right? Because you're listening to an audition, your hand is on the mouse, and it's a click. You know, that's a second. When we listen to auditions, if there is blank space at the end of the audition, you know, probably half to 3/4 of a second, we're hitting stop. And sometimes we learn that the voice actor actually gave a second take, but we didn't even know it. So don't leave too much space. Certainly don't run the lines on top of one another. So yeah, I'd say put them pretty close together, quarter second, half second.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, if that feels weird, you just kind of you're like practicing it a few times with giving the space, I guess, imagining the dialogue, and then once you kind of feel familiar with how you've created that character, your scene partner, you can kind of cruise through it a little bit easier. I know like when I've practiced these, I've had someone maybe read with me. You know, at Edge, I would do that, like Paul would read with me or something, and then I would be able to do it because I would imagine Paul as I was recording, you know, the audition. Adrienne, does that sound good? You got any more? You good? Okay, I love these. I love your cameras on. I'm like, I feel like we're talking, even though it's weird, weird Zoom stuff. Okay, that's awesome. Hey, Beth, what's up? How are you? Once the demo is done and the website is up and the logo and marketing materials are in hand, in order to begin direct marketing, do you have a suggestion for cover letter or intro wording? Do you begin by emailing everyone on your Christmas list? Suggestions, thank you.
Yeah, it really depends. Marketing really depends on you, because there are lots of different ways to market. Direct marketing, paying someone to do the work for you, working with a marketing group, marketing online, direct cold calls. I mean, they're all different tactics, and they can all work really well. But again, it comes down to where your strengths are. I can't really even answer that question because I don't know where your particular strengths are. It also comes down to the genre that you're working in, whether it's a focused genre like audiobooks or promos or something, or a pretty wide-ranging focus like narration work. So yeah, if you want to give Siobhan some more details, I'd be happy to answer that question.
Yeah, and Beth, I'm not visually seeing you, so if you feel like dropping more stuff in the chat, but yeah, I can also say, like, definitely if you're on social media, I'm a social media person. Oh my God, Jill, thank you. But you know, I one thing that has happened for me is just by posting about, like, I finished this stuff and check out my website, and then people in your network know that you do it. So then it's just expanding within your realms, people who are like, actually, I'm doing this thing. Or one of my friends who was doing ASMR stuff was like, actually, I need someone to read, you know, so people will just, that's kind of like maximizing your Christmas list. My Christmas list gets shorter and shorter all the time because I'm like, you know, who's really deserving? But I think.
But one thing though, I would say is a lot of people who are new to the industry just market themselves using the word voice actor. And I know that that's technically the right word, but when you reach out to someone who might just be on your Christmas card list, you know, some aunt in Bethesda, or, you know, whatever, the friend you grew up with in the Corn Belt somewhere, you say voice actor, they're thinking commercial. They don't know what goes into voiceover. They don't know anything about the industry. And when people don't know about our industry, they just think about commercial work. And so if you reach your friend in Bethesda or who lives in the Corn Belt and you say, hey, I'm a voice actor now, here's my demo. They will think, well, I don't need any commercials recorded. But maybe if you were more clear about what it is that you offer, and if you reach out to your Christmas card list and you say, look, I narrate training videos for corporations and sales videos for corporations and those annoying telephone recording systems, and you give some examples of the things that you record, I think there's a significantly greater chance that your friends are at that point will say, oh yeah, you know what? Our HR department does use training videos and sales videos, and let me put you in touch with them. So I think you'll open up many more doors by explaining what it is that you do, educating the people that you market to. And so therefore, rather than calling yourself a voice actor, maybe you use a term like a corporate narrator or corporate narrator and voice actor or audiobook narrator, whatever it happens to be. Use a word that might be more meaningful to the people who you reach out to.
Branding is so hard because often creative people don't, it's like, it feels weird to like brand yourself or market yourself or like define the best ways to talk about what your wheelhouse is. But you get better at it as you keep going. And as you put yourself out there, you just start to do it. And it doesn't even, it's like not, it's like whatever, you know? So, so continuing to push yourself to do it, it's going to make it easier as you go.
That is one of my favorite things about working with voice actors and helping them figure out their branding, their strengths, and coming up with a marketing plan. That's really fun. I love the idea of startups and business. And so, yeah, it's a very fun, well, it's not necessarily fun for everyone, but I find it like it's a great challenge to take on and, help someone really succeed.
And that's what I appreciate about David is he's like, this is fun. And I'm like, I hate this, So it really, that's what's great about working with someone. I mean, always like when in doubt, like getting someone to, working with a coach who not only enjoys it, but can help you define those things. It's totally worth the effort and energy. Okay, so as I'm going down, I'm trying to hit up different folks' questions. Erica, my friend, is asking, after having an Edge produced demo, amazing, what are some good career goalposts to have in the first year out of finishing the Edge program?
That's a really open-ended question. Wow. I think it comes down to just your goals, honestly. Do you want to make voiceover a full-time career or a part-time career, and how many projects can you take on a week, for example? I work with some voice actors who have crazy busy lives and kids and activities and all sorts of things going on in their life, and for them getting a job a week or 2 jobs a week that total an hour or 2 of work, that's the max they can bring on. And I work with other voice actors who are dedicating their entire life to this, and they'll take on 20 hours of work a day. I mean, not that anyone could sustain that, I'm exaggerating, but so yeah, it's really hard for me to tell you what your goals should be. I would say though that once you start marketing, you should start to get some work. And if you're putting out 10 auditions a day through one of the online casting sites, and you don't see a job even within a week or so, that honestly, you should call me up and say something's going on with my auditions, because you're not auditioning right. You should be bringing in some amount of work. And there's also how good you are at marketing and remarketing to your existing clients, because studies show that 80% of the effort of getting a client. Sorry, I'm saying this incorrectly. 80% of the effort is getting a client. It only takes 20% effort to maintain that client. So if you have clients coming in and you're not seeing them come back as repeat clients, then you're not doing a good job at all on the back end. So there's a lot that can be done. I don't know. I keep saying this, but I'm happy to help you with sort of looking at this and helping you establish goals and a plan. And I don't know, I love looking at people's websites and making suggestions and putting it all together. For anyone, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, I put in the chat if people want to talk about what their goals have been after they first after they finish their first demo. I think it's tough. You know, I can say for me, sometimes I get scared about setting goals because I feel sad if I didn't like meet them, or, you know, with life things happened, you know. So I think your main goal should be spinning the wheel and not getting discouraged. And I've talked on Twitter with some of our voice actors who have like finished their demos and they're like, oh man, I'm doing so many auditions. And I'm just like, don't stop doing it. And like, please continue to vent to your friends and to fellow voice actors about the hustle. I mean, I know if you remember Noelle's session with us like maybe a month ago, and she was a producer, right? And she's like, I thought because I was a producer, I would have a leg up when I went into the VO world as an actor, and I didn't, you know? So it's like remembering that folks who seem like who are doing great now didn't start out that way, and that it's a hustle, and that's what we're, you know, that's what you're living in, and keeping that in mind as you move forward. Like, you're in for an uphill climb. Unless it goes really great for you, then like that's what we want, and congratulations, like right away, that's what we want. But like, you know, I think one of the main goals for me certainly in this world is like, okay, I gotta, like, I'm spinning the wheels and I'm not gonna get discouraged, you know?
Yeah, don't get discouraged. I just yesterday morning, I think it was, or 2 mornings ago, I watched a documentary on Journey. How many of you remember the group Journey, big in the 80s and 90s? And I never knew this about, I never knew anything about their history. I didn't know every one of their songs, but the main singer, Steve Perry, is that his name? I think, right? Not Steve, Tyler Perry? Steve Perry? Yeah, Steve Perry. They were so unsuccessful as a band at first. They had put out multiple albums that went nowhere. And he gave up. He walked away from the band and he worked on a farm helping build turkey coops. And he said he hated it. He always wanted to go back to music. And eventually he got the opportunity and went back. And yeah, you have to keep pushing for it. And some people, honestly, right out of the gate get lucky. And some people just don't. You know, there's an average there somewhere. But don't become discouraged, like Siobhan said. Just keep going for it. But if things aren't happening the right way, you may be unlucky. But there's also the chance that you're not doing things correctly, that you're not auditioning right. So sometimes it is, again, helpful just to work with a coach on a semi-regular basis and just to touch base and say, look, you know, like the voice actors will bring me 4 or 5, 6 recent auditions and say, here's the script I was sent. Here's the direction I was given. Here's the audition I sent back. And can you help me figure out why I didn't get these jobs? And sometimes I listen to those auditions and I say, well, of course you didn't get the job because the client asked for this, but you didn't give them that. It's so obvious to me, of course, but as a voice actor, sometimes you need to learn to think about the stuff from the casting team's perspective. And that brings us back to using the feedback form. That's one of the things the feedback form will do. Anyway, I hope that helps.
Next question is from Nicole. Are resumes necessary for voiceover auditions?
I think it depends on how you define resume, right? I think if you look at the definition of resume, a list of what you've done, I think it's very helpful because a client will never hire you unless they feel that they can trust you. And one way you can establish trust is by letting the client know, yeah, I've been there, done that, right? Here's my list of clients that I've worked with. I've done things just like what your company needs. I provide the voice and they're happy with me. And I have repeat clients. I've done 17 jobs for this client and 24 for that client. That is fantastic stuff. But usually as a voice actor, you're not going to email a resume to a potential client. You may have some listing on your website because typically voice actors, or rather casting teams, go to your website to listen to your demos. And that's when you can establish that trust with the potential client. So you might show recent clients I've worked with, or all clients I've worked with, or, you know, and have logos of those clients. And you may put in numbers, you know, GE, I've recorded 4 commercials for them, and another company, I've done 17 training videos for them. And those numbers are incredibly meaningful to someone who's judging you against other voice actors. To go a step further with this, with respect to your website, there are ultimately, I think, there are 3 things that you need on your website. 1, you need to make it super easy for the client to hear your demo. The second thing, you need to make it super easy for them to gain trust in you. And the third thing, you need to make it super easy for them to get in touch with you. Those are the three elements you need on your website. So to repeat, make it easy for the client to hear your voice, make it easy for them to gain trust in your ability, and third, make it easy for them to contact you.
This is an adjacent question that just popped up from Micah, who, like, the llama, it's just amazing. Love to see it. He's asking, so the client I have done work for 18 years, good for you.
Yeah.
Awesome. He's saying, should they be on my profile even though it's small market, like it's not GE or whatever? But
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, if you were applying for an office job somewhere and you worked at like Joe's Bar and Grill for 17 years, you'd put that down on your resume, right? It doesn't have, just because it's not a national company that you happen to be working at, it shows that you are established, that you do good work, that people keep coming back to you. Absolutely.
and I'd put that on your site as well, or like where, like, I'd find places to make sure that that's easy to see somewhere in your landing page of like, yeah, I'm really proud to have worked with this company for 18 years as their talent. I mean, I think that's incredibly impressive. It speaks more to you than the client, than like the grandiosity of the client, like,
Absolutely. Yeah, and you can play it up. You could say like, my longest running client is 18 years, right? Even if every other client you have is giving you one job and walked away because they said, man, you suck, you're horrible, I hate your voice, right? You could still say, my longest running client I've been, providing voiceover to them for 18 years. And that just makes it sound as if you have all of these clients, these long-term clients. So think about the wording and make sure you establish that trust with anyone else who comes your way.
David, you were talking about Journey, and I just need you to know that Alexis said, don't stop believing, David.
That's really funny. So check this out. So one of the things in the documentary was that when the band afterward broke up and Steve Perry left the band, they needed a new front singer. And here's trivia for you. They found a new front singer. His name was Steve Augery, who I was not familiar with. The guy sounds just like Steve Perry. He was with the band. Steve Augery was with a band called Tall Stories, who never really made it that big, and they gave up also. And Steve Augery became, I think it was a painter. And when Journey was looking for a new front singer, they came across this album, this group called Tall Stories, and they said, man, the singer on that CD sounds just like Steve Perry. Let's find him. And it took them a long, like months to find this guy, to track him down, because this was before social media and all, these cool things, these cool tracking methods. But they eventually found the guy working. He was working in a bar somewhere. That's what it was. And they reached out to him, and Steve Augery came in, and he was their lead singer through, I think, the early 2000s. Now there's a different person singing for them. But once again, it shows you, you have to keep going. You have to keep trying. And in two cases, two different Steves gave up and still they eventually came back to Journey. But don't give up, guys. There's a lot of work out there. There really is a lot of good work. If you position yourself well, if you market well, and you audition well, there's no reason why you can't get work.
David, I'm going to combine two questions here from Diana and Troy. Diana's asking a common question. She has Audacity and Pro Tools. Is one better for the other? Is one better than the other? And then I'm going to pair it. So part B is from Troy. What's the best way to get really proficient with a DAW once you've selected one? So I think that makes for a good combo.
Yeah. So first, in case someone doesn't know, DAW is an initialism for Digital Audio Workstation. That's the software you use to record and edit. So Audacity is a very popular DAW. So is Pro Tools. And there are lots of them out there. And they all do the same thing, and they all work really well, except for GarageBand. Doesn't work quite as well. It's not optimal for editing. And this question, by the way, I'm going to, the answer I'll make pretty short, because this question comes up almost every session we have. So find software that you feel comfortable with, and make sure it's popular, so you can find user groups on it and videos and tutorials on YouTube. The more popular DAWs have, you can find classes to, people who will teach you how to use them, and that's great. Audacity, like I said, is very popular in our industry. It's great. It's free. Pro Tools is very expensive. It's way overkill, I think, if you're new to voiceover, but if you have it and you're familiar with it, keep on using it. And I think that's my abbreviated answer. Siobhan, if you want me to go into more detail, let me know.
No, I think it's good. I'm scrolling and seeing. Okay, I think this is. I think if people are happy in the space. Also, Micah, I love the rescue llama. Come on, you're so cool. Okay, as I'm going through these, thank you, Troy and Diana. I'm gonna blow up the feedback forum. Okay, and then we've got animation books. Sorry, guys, I'm like all.
Yeah, while you're doing that, Siobhan, why don't we all sing "Don't Stop Believing"?
That's one idea for something we could do.
I see some of you moving, yeah.
It is, man, I wish we were at karaoke right now instead. But so Maura is talking about audiobooks on ACX, technical editing audiobooks and mastering takes Maura forever. I feel you. She's on her 4th book and she has so much trouble with editing. Sometimes I cry. Oh, that breaks my heart. I always have to hire someone else to help me. Is there a full course for someone on how to edit and master an audiobook after recording and how to fix issues? Like a hum or clicks or plosives, or maybe Edge could have one. I've been watching online videos and following tutorials. Maura, this is exactly why I am so terrified of audiobooks. This sounds like my personal unhappy place, so I feel you. Are there any techniques for the microphone to avoid mouth noises besides eating all the green apples and not being dehydrated, et cetera, et cetera? This is an important question. If people are like, audiobooks sound so fun, like Maura's like, yo, this is the real deal. So David, what do you think?
Well, the answer could be a few hours long. So I'm trying to think how to make this really short. Not that I don't want to give information, but just we only have so much time. I would say probably one of the biggest issues that audiobook narrators have when it comes to the amount of time it takes them to complete the book, like after their vocal performance, is that they have too many problems going into the recording. So in other words, sometimes the issue is not as much as they're not good at editing or EQing out hums and clicks, but more so the problem is that they have hums and clicks that they haven't gotten rid of before they start recording. So if you can learn how to better treat your studio to get rid of hums and clicks, you won't need to worry about it down the road. And if you can learn how to read laterally, which is a wonderful reading technique that helps you get through cold copy really well, then you'll have significantly fewer edits. And so your editing time can drop to, I don't know, say 50% right off of the bat. In other words, why go through and record an hour audiobook and have 4 hours of editing afterward if you can do a little prep work up front and have only an hour of editing, after you're done recording? I would say that a new voice actor who gets into audiobook recording probably has something like a 5-to-1 or a 6-to-1 ratio of someone saying 10-to-1. I think that's 10-to-1. Howard, is that 10-to-1? You're killing yourself. Okay, let me explain what this means. I'm talking about the ratio of how long the finished audio is compared to how long it actually takes you to complete that audio. That's a weird concept for some people, and I found over the years that there's an analogy that works. The analogy is if you hire a carpet person to install carpeting in your bedroom, you might pay the carpet company one set fee to put the carpeting in your bedroom. You don't care how long it takes them. The carpet person is getting, let's just say, $100 to carpet your bedroom. So again, you don't care if they do the job in 10 minutes or 10 hours. As long as your bedroom is nicely carpeted, you've paid $100. But the carpeting person's, from their vantage point, they want to do the job as quickly as they can because they're only getting $100. So if it takes them 10 hours, they're making $10 an hour. But if they could do that job in 1 hour, well, then they're making $100 an hour, right? As the as the voice actor, you want to be able to get through the work as quickly as you can, because then you're making more money per hour. You have more free time or more time for other projects. So back to what I was saying, and Howard, to your point here, um, Howard's saying he has a 10-to-1 ratio, which means it takes him 10 hours to complete 1 hour of audiobook. So I mentioned this earlier, the average unabridged book is about 11 hours long, which means when a publishing company calls Howard and says, hey, we have a title for you, we need it turned around in 2 weeks, he then has to say, well, let's see, I have an 11-hour book times 10 hours to complete each hour, that's 110 hours, and I have 2 weeks to do that, so I have to work 55 hours each week to get this book done. And he's paid one set fee. Typically, you're paid by the completed hour. So if you can get better at editing, you'll save a lot of time. But if you can get better at avoiding mistakes, you'll save a ton of time. And any one of our engineers at Edge Studio can spend some time with you and teach you, take a session with them and teach you editing tricks and techniques that really help with audiobook narration. I'm pretty good at directing audiobook narrators and helping you figure out how to get through the copy more cleanly without so many mistakes. But we have a couple of coaches here who specialize in audiobooks. They live and breathe audiobooks, and they know every trick. In fact, funny thing, so by show of hands, how many of you know about the dog clicker? Anyone? I saw 5, 6 hands go up. You can use that dog clicker, a little 50-cent dog clicker, and you click it every time you make a mistake while you're recording. And what does that do? Well, when you look back at your recorded file, you see this loud click sound like a peak. And then you know exactly where your mistakes are. I'm not sure if I've explained this correctly. So when you're recording, every time you make a mistake, you click the little dog clicker. It makes a very loud sound. It shows a little spike in the recorded audio file. So when you go back to your editing stage, you can jump from mistake to mistake. You don't have to listen to the whole book. That alone can save you so much time. And we have these coaches at Edge who can teach you tons of tricks like this, just ways to get through the audio at a much quicker pace. But to the person who asked the question, certainly you can hire editors. There are lots of editors out there who will do the work for you. And there's something to be said about that, because maybe you're paying an editor 20 or 30 bucks an hour. And, that's certainly taking some money out of your pocket. At the same time, because they're doing all of that editing, you could be recording other projects that pay you more money. So you have to look at it from a business perspective, like what makes the most economical sense for you.
Yeah, and someone I would recommend to talk to at Edge about these kinds of things is actually Tom Deere, who is an audiobook narrator, but also he's so good at like efficiency and planning your time and management, and understanding your weaknesses and then helping you to manage your time better regarding those weaknesses. So that's what I would recommend if you wanted to come to Edge for some help with the chaos. We don't want you to feel sad, and I feel for you. I know we're running low on time. I want to get one more in from Roxana. When you have a long narration and a laptop is noisy, got the fans going, how do you place the copy to keep the flow if it's a lot of pages?
Well, first of all, use an iPad so there's no fan. I mean, don't bring a fan into the room where you have a mic, or put the computer outside your booth. Yeah, do whatever you can to make sure you don't have fan noise. I have this flashback, not just the journey now, but to this audiobook narrator who I used to work with before the days of iPads and stuff. This is back in possibly the very, very late 80s or early 90s. And he was the only voice actor who I ever worked with who could totally change pages, pieces of paper, printed paper, and move one piece of paper off of the music stand while recording the next page. He would, I'm standing up so you guys can see my hands. He'd have his music stand. He'd have the script that he's reading on one side and the pages he's read on the other side. And as he began reading the first word of a new page, the moment he began reading it, he started taking that piece of paper off very slowly, made no noise. And let's say it takes about 1.5 to 2 minutes to read a page of text. He spent that entire 1.5 slowly putting the completed page down in the done pile. It made no noise. It was phenomenal. Now, I mean, it's kind of annoying to have to do that. So get a computer without a fan, like an iPad or something, or like I said, put your computer outside the booth, get a remote controller if you have to. There was another part of your question and I forgot now. What was the other part, Siobhan?
It was just about the noise reduction. I don't know what. I don't know. I don't know the other part. I'm a lost lamb. Oh, just to keep the copy flow if it's a lot of pages.
Oh,
That's
yeah. So
all.
again, it's really nice on an iPad because you can keep scrolling and keep the flow going. That's a really nice thing. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a theater person and I perform on Zoom these days, and I have a music stand with my iPad so that my script is just always there.
Yeah,
Um,
just make sure, obviously don't wear any bracelets that might be loud or something like that, or don't have huge fingernails that might kind of click on the screen as you go to scroll. Just take
yeah,
precaution, but
good point.
yeah, you should be fine.
Good point. Okay, so I think we're kind of here at the end. If we want to do 2 minutes for one more question. The second thing, which we should make super easy for the client. The first is for our demo. The third is, I'm not sure if I understand this question. The first,
Is the
what is
person
the
who's
second?
asking the question asking what were the 3 things that I said should be on a
Yeah.
website?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
First thing, make it easy for a client to hear you. In other words, put your demos up front and center. I'll give you a bit more detail in a moment. Second thing was somehow put some information on your website so the client or the prospective client says, okay, I can trust this person. Third thing is make it easy for them to contact you. I'm going to talk about each of these 3 things in about 10 seconds. Here goes. Making the demo up front and center. So very often we cannot find demos on a website. Guys, call them demos because everyone is looking for demos. And this is an international business. So don't call it, don't have a web page that says, listen to my voice or hear me. And don't do anything clever. We're just looking for the 4-letter word demo. Put it on your homepage because it's the first thing people want to hear. To the second point, establish trust, testimonials, examples of clients. As we talked about earlier, your resume, you've done a job for a client for 18 years, you've recorded for 18,000 hours so far, for 400 pages of copy. Give some information that makes someone say, yeah, this person's good. And third thing, make it easy for them to contact you. Put your email address and phone number at the top of every page in big, big letters or numbers. It's amazing how often we can't find someone's contact information. We have to go to a third page. We go to their homepage, to another page, and then to the contact form. And at the very bottom of the contact form, there's a little phone number. And you know what? I have found at Edge Studio over all of these years that half of our clients prefer to use our request a quote form, but the other half prefer to contact us by email or phone number. So if you only have the contact us form, then theoretically you're losing half of potential customers. So put both everywhere. There you go. Hope that was not too fast, but I want to make
David,
sure we're.
awesome. No, you did it. I said 2 minutes and you nailed it.
Ooh.
So,
Hit my
we're in
light.
rare form today, you guys. I hope that you have enjoyed the journey of this day. Yes, and Dina's gonna look at her site right now. Heck yes, y'all. Here you go. Here in the chat is a $25 off of coaching code for being with us today. The code is simply AMA. Click that link and you can purchase a coaching session with our dear David or Tom Deere, as I mentioned, or anyone that just looks good and fun to you. You can also contact us. You can hit up training@edgestudio.com and our education team will take care of you to make sure that you get a session with the kind of coach you need and you can use that $25 off for being with us. Also, as always, I would love for you to drop your handles in the chat so that we can be following each other on social media. Please follow us at Edge Studio. That is our Twitter handle.
Siobhan, a quick question. So can someone use that $25 coupon if they just want me to review their website or help them with the marketing plan? Is it only for coaching or is it also for consultation?
It's for a session, any session at all.
Okay.
So yeah, so a
Yeah,
consultation.
so for a couple of you, I think 3 people I suggested, consider letting me just take a listen to your demos or whatever it is, or help me with your marketing and putting together some goals and plans. Like I said, that is my favorite thing. So if you want help, I'm just, I guess, speak with someone in our office.
Yes, yes. So all of that is good. Keep putting your handles in the chat. I will be following y'all. I'm the social media person, so if you talk to us on Insta or Facebook or Twitter, that's me. You can also DM me on those things if you have education questions, and I will take care of you. We appreciate you so much. So our next session is October 24th. I think. Let me just double check. Nope, don't listen to me. I'm a liar. The 22nd of October, that's 2 Thursdays from now, we are featuring our special guest star, Jason Birmingham, talking about the global VO market. So if you're like, how do I get some of that? He's the man to talk to. He's also a charming, delightful human being, like all of our coaches are. But wow, do we love Jason. It's a real treat that he's joining us in 2 weeks. It will be at 1 p.m. Eastern time, as it always is. We look forward to seeing you there. I might wear some Halloween stuff. I don't know. We'll see. Could be really fun. It's going to be our closest to Halloween time. So yes, thank you for being with us. David, thanks for being with us today. It's a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, Siobhan, thanks for doing an awesome job. Thank you all for being on the call with us. Really fun questions today, guys. Thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. I really hope it was helpful. And I see someone clapping. Wow, nice. Cool, guys. Have a fantastic 2 weeks. Hope you join us in 2 weeks, as Siobhan gave the date a moment ago. And we'll talk with you then.
We'll talk with you then. And this will be posted on YouTube's, and I'll put it on our social medias very soon. Big love, and be well. Take care. Get some sunshine. Bye, y'all.